Okay, happy day after Halloween. I hope you all had a good time going trick-or-treating and not eating too much candy and not staying up too late, because we are here back at school on Wednesday morning, bright and early. It might be a sleepy morning, but you had some PE to get your blood pumping, and now we're going to get started with math. Okay, we have lesson 2.17, module 2, lesson 17. And as expected, we're continuing on talking about division. Remember on Monday, we talked about how we can divide by multiples of 10, yes? Okay, today we're going to continue that idea, but we're going to use what we know about math facts to estimate quotients. Today, more than ever, you will see how important it is to know your math facts like that, okay? Where if I can say, what's 56 divided by 7, you need to be able to tell me the answer without thinking a long time for it, okay? And you'll see why today. But let's get started talking about the problem of the day first. Just to remind us one more time, I know we talked about this on Monday, but let's just write down one more time so there's no doubt in our minds the different parts of a division problem. The first number in the division problem is called the whole. The second number in the division problem is called the divisor. And then the answer is called the quotient. Now, can we use the commutative property and switch the whole and the divisor? No. In multiplication, can we switch the factors? Yeah. Because they're both just factors. But this one, one's a whole and one's a divisor. So could I say that this is the same thing as 12 divided by 48? No. No, we cannot switch the whole and the divisor. So does order matter when we're talking about division problems? Yes. Yes, good. Today we're always talking about estimation. Why do we ever estimate if we could just find the exact answer? We know how to do this. I could do dad, mom, sister, brother, use the standard algorithm and divide. But why would I ever want to do estimation? Talk to your table group. Not only does estimation help you figure out the zone of your answer and figure out around where your answer should be, are there times in life where you don't need to actually find the exact amount? Yeah. Like, let's say I know that something costs $821 and I make $41 each day, and I want to figure out how many days I need to save up in order to be able to buy that thing. Well, could I just in my head think, well, that's pretty close to 800 and that's pretty close to 40 and get a rough estimate of how many days it'll take me to save up? Right? So we are going to learn how to estimate, because not only does it help us figure out if our answer is in the right zone, but estimating helps us kind of do the math really quickly in our head. Do you see what I'm saying? So when we estimate, we want to be able to do the math in our head. You know you're estimating wrong when you have to write out a standard algorithm. Okay? So let's take a look. The directions say to estimate the quotient, but to round the divisor first. Go ahead and write this problem in your math notebook. 821 divided by 41. If it tells me to round the divisor first, which number are they talking about? 821 or 41? 41. We could say that 41 is pretty close to what number? 40. Okay. Now that we've rounded the divisor first, let's round the whole. 821 is pretty close to what number that's easily divisible by 40? Everyone? 800. Why do you think they tell us to round the divisor first? That's my big question. We're going to do 3 practice problems, and we're always going to round the divisor first. And as we do it, you're going to be thinking to yourself, why? Why can't I just start with the first number and round that number first? Okay, think to yourself. We'll talk about it at the very end. Now, can we do this in our heads? Well, we can say 800. Let's relate it to what we learned on Monday. 800 divided by 40, is that the same thing as 800 divided by 10 divided by 4? Yeah. Okay, what's 800 divided by 10? Everyone? 80. And now I have 80 divided by 4, because 800 divided by 10, we can think about the decimal point moving one spot over like that, right? Okay, now what's 8 divided by 4? 2. So what's 80 divided by 4? 20. So if I'm going to estimate the quotient, 821 divided by 41 should be pretty close to what number? 20. So again, this time I'm going to think, well, the divisor is 23, so that's pretty close to what number? 20. Now, I have my whole still, which is 617, and I want it to be something that's easily divisible by 20, but also close to 617. What number would that be? Ani? 600. Okay. So then let's rewrite this. 600 is our whole. We're going to keep that the same. But I could split up 20 to be divided by 10 and then divided by 2. Do you see how starting from this step right here is what we did on Monday? Right? Good. Okay, now if I do 600 divided by 10, how does the decimal point move? One spot to the? Oh, one spot to the right, so it's 6,000? No, it's one spot to the left. So what's 600 divided by 10? 60. And then what do I have over here? Divided by 2. What is, if I have 60 and I want to split it into each group, 2 groups, how much is in each group? 30. Very good. So an estimate, a reasonable estimate for 617 divided by 23 is 30. Good. Okay. The whole is the first number I see, so I should round it first. 531 is pretty close to 530, and 48 is pretty close to 50. Can I do 530 divided by 50 in my head? Yeah. Can I do it in my head? 530 divided by 50? Do we have any math facts that tell me what 53 divided by 5 is? No. Okay, so it didn't work when I tried to round the whole first. Let me try to round the divisor first this time. 48 is pretty close to what number? 50. And now I want something that's close to 531 that's easily divisible by 50. What should I try? 500. Okay. I'm liking that. Let's write it out. Let's split up the divisor. We're going to split the divisor of 50 into what two numbers? 5 and 10. So we're going to do 500 divided by 10 and then divided by 5. Let's do this part first. What's 500 divided by 10, everyone? 50. And then I have divided by 5. So how much is in each group? 10. Talk to your table group. Why do we always need to round the divisor before we can round the whole? So we always need to round the divisor first because it helps us figure out what whole would be related to the divisor. What would be a math facts related thing. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so we can see this word problem is asking us to figure out about how much Mrs. Johnson spent on each lunch. The word about there tells you, are we solving or estimating? Estimating. If we ever have to write out a standard algorithm, are we estimating or solving? Solving. So make sure it's something you can do in your head. The important information is we need to know she spent $611 altogether, and that was 78 lunches, right? And each lunch cost the same amount, which means I can divide it equally. So if I was going to solve it, what division problem would I need to do? Stella?
611 divided by 78.
You got it. If I did that, would that find me the exact amount? Yeah. But we don't want to do that. We just want to find out about how much. Okay? Let me show you something. If I were to round the whole first, I could say, well, 611 is pretty close to 610, and 78 is pretty close to 80. Are 610 and 80 related by math facts? No. So that makes it really difficult. So instead, let's round the divisor first. 78 is pretty close to what number? 80. Okay. Now think about your math facts, okay? If we count by 8, we have 8, and then what? 16, then what? 24, then 32, then 40, 48, 56, 64. Okay, so 56, 64, that's pretty close. So which number is closer to 611? 640. Okay. So if we do that, do you guys see how 611 is pretty close to 640? Do you see how would we have ever picked 640? We would have picked 600, right? But is 600 close to 8, or is it related to 80 by math facts? No. So will it help us estimate if we picked 600 divided by 80? No. Okay. But can we do 640 divided by 80? We can. We can say that's the same as 640 divided by 10 divided by 8, right? And then what's 640 divided by 10? 64. And so we have 64 divided by 8, which is? 8. So they spent about $8. So this is a great example because if I were to round the whole first, I would probably round it to 600. And then I would try to divide it by 80. But that would be really hard because